Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, as always, I'm joined by Shannon Times.
What's up? What's
going on? And Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? So hopefully the intro wasn't too jacked up because my brain literally dimmed in the middle of it. I'm on a diet. I just spent all the calories from this morning. You saw it in real time. So definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. If you have not already, go back and check out the last one I did with Elizabeth Stevens from DBS Cyber. Great interview. We went for an hour and a half just talking about her background as a retired Marine who's just trailblazer and pioneer, and how she took those skills and now she leads the charge in cybersecurity. And then Fridays, everything else: movies, books, games, all that good stuff. We don't talk about much about cyber. We talk about everything else. So without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This next article is from arstechnica.com. It's written by Dan Gooden, and the title of it is Novel Attack Against Virtually All VPN Apps Neuters Their Entire Purpose, right? So there's a tunnel vision that it has existed since 2002, and it may already be known to attackers, and they may already be exploiting it. So when it comes to VPN, like, this is one of the things, like, I use these myself, right? Like, I use it on my phone when it comes to browsing. I use it on my laptop. To see this is kind of one of those things. And to be honest with you, I mean, it sucked that I saw it, but I wasn't all that surprised, to be honest with you, right? Because it's one of those things where you have to assume that everything is going to get breached at some point, right? The most surprising part to me is that this could have been out there for about 22 years now. They think this vulnerability has existed since 2000. The fact that it's being used, I don't doubt it, but I think we would hear more from it if that was the case. But pretty much the premise here is that your VPN is not as you're not cloaking as much stuff as you thought you were, right? So for all of the disguising of IPs and things of that nature that you thought your VPN was doing, apparently it's not the case. Now, the only time they say that this actually is 100% protected is if you're running on Linux or Android, right? But even with Android, they said that there's a side channel that's created that could still be exploited, but it's just a little bit harder. But Linux was the one that was pretty much, it's foolproof on Linux still. But all the other OSs out there, nope, not the case, right? And the way they do it is by manipulating the DHCP server. So we have to ask ourselves, like, is anything really truly secure like you think it is? And the answer's got to be no at this point, right? Like, we do our best to protect against these types of things, or to not experience any type of I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, we do our best to try to protect ourselves from different things, like using VPNs and things of that nature, especially when you're connecting to a hostile network, because that's usually where you want to do it, right? These free Wi-Fi hotspots that are out there, you don't want to connect right up to your phone and just do whatever, right? Anybody can get onto it, start hacking your stuff, and that's not what you want, right? So you use your VPN, you log in, it's an encrypted tunnel that gets created for you, but apparently not as much as we thought it was, right? So in this day and age, like, we have to believe, and I really have seen this ramp up more and more since COVID, right? Because Ryan, you said it before, right? The idle hands are the work of the devil, right? Like, it's just people that had a lot of time on their hands because they were holed up. People that probably weren't hackers beforehand got bored and was like, hey, I can make money doing this since I got laid off now, you know what I mean? So from COVID. It's just exploded so much more since that time. So we're talking, the end of 2019 time frame. So that's not quite 5 years ago. It's been crazy. So this is just, we can't get too comfortable and just assume that everything is going to be that safe. Because, like, here's the thing: if there's something you really don't want out there, you shouldn't put it online at all, if I'm being honest, you know what I mean? But some of the things are getting enforced that way, right? When it comes to our finances, our utilities, things of that nature, like, you pay your bills online, you know what I mean? You check your banking online. You're not walking up to a teller anymore like you used to, right? Banks aren't even hiring as many as they used to because they have the websites and everything, right? Like, you can go to some of these branches now that are just so much smaller, and this is why, because of the convenience of doing things online. But this is just, we got to be careful out there, folks. We can't assume that we're always safe with these things, because again, I wasn't surprised to see it, but it was just kind of one of those things where I was like, all right, well, I wonder what my providers are going to do to fix this. You know what I mean? Because I don't regularly use Linux like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but Chris, what's your thoughts on this?
I thought was, yeah, this is a really great overview. And like you were saying, Shannon, it's like using a VPN gives so many users out there some type of assurance that, hey, look, my data that I'm using, or, um, my browsing activity, my shopper, all that stuff is somewhat anonymous, but this is definitely concerning for those that, do value their privacy. Well, I do have one thing in the article. It does say that luckily, I think this is a point of positive of this, because to be the attack for this specific attack, it can be most effectively carried out by a person who has administrative control over the network the target is connecting to. So again, that shows that in most scenarios, even to get to this level of intrusion, you need to have administrative access, or at least the attacker needs to ensure that they find their way in there into that specific administrative network. So to me, it's like, hey, those things can be things like access control can still be protected against, right, with proper policy procedures that prevent administrative, credential escalation from the intrusion perspective, right? So there is a little bit of a hope, in my opinion. But the fact that this exists is very concerning. Setting up your own rogue DHCP server, and then, like Shannon was saying, as he's describing, the people that have a lot of time, like, who even came up with this? This is honestly a really genius way to get by a VPN. And then what I was going to say as well is that they do in the article mention some of the two remedies for such problematic solutions, right? They mentioned one, a VPN user connecting to an untrusted network has no ability to control the firewall. And those are problematic reasons. And two, it opens the same side channel present within the Linux mitigation. So again, I do not have too much experience with Linux, but again, this is a very concerning vulnerability. I do hope that there are a lot of smart network engineers out there that can figure this out, that can maybe it's some type of port, or it's option 121. Maybe they're fucking disabling it, right? And it might honestly be a vulnerability alert or a mandatory thing for a lot of companies out there. So the fact that it's out there, it's good for administrators that can get ahead of it.
So let me jump in here real quick before you do, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
So here's something for the discussion, right? So they talk about this in the article as well. Do you think they should have publicly released this to everybody all at once like this, or do you think they should have taken the time to reach out to all the different providers? Because they have a rationale in here on why they did it the way they did it. That they talk about, hey, we're a small firm, we just don't have the manpower to reach out to all these different places individually, right? Because there's a lot of VPN providers out there, right? Like, I was thinking it was like 3 or 4, right? But when you go and you look, you're like, oh man, there really is a lot of them out there. Do you think they should have done it this way and just blasted it all out there like this, or should they have taken the time to reach out to everybody individually? Chris,
I think this is the right course of action, right? I think not all VPN providers are created equal. Maybe 10, 20, 30% of them already may have known about this specific. Maybe they know from internal documents or something, or through whatever means they have in the security community. But the fact that now this is out there, right? And because VPN, like I said, is very sensitive to people. A lot of people trust VPNs. I think this is a good thing to ensure that open communication lines out there with the public. So it'll give us, at least me, an assurance that, hey, look, everybody's tracking this now. I'm sure there's going to be some smart guy out there that's going to come out and fix it.
Agreed. What about you, Ryan?
So I don't think it was a bad move. But you do have organizations like you could have gave it to like CISA or somebody like that who could have blasted out to the proper communities through back channels. So there were other options. I'm not saying that this one was poor by any means, because they are smaller and to make it easier to be transparent to everybody at once. I think that's fine. However, I think that they could have gone a slightly longer route by giving it to the proper agencies, and they would have pushed it out to the right people. or weaponized it. That's also a thing, right? So I guess it's the democratism of this is puts everybody on the same playing field. So had they given it to the federal government, maybe it would have been put in the arsenal. Like, oh, you could do that? Like, guess what we're doing to, our near peers. So
I hear you, right? I hear you, but I feel differently in that if you would have handed it to CISA probably could have gotten something out there, right? Like they probably could have put releases out there or whatever. But are people paying as much attention when it comes from a government agency as much as it is just being out there in the public? So like the article we have is from Ars Technica, right? But
right.
like CNN will pick it up, Fox News will pick it, like all these different ones. Like when you put it out there in the public like that, like people are seeing that more, right? That are in the know, right? And I'm not going to sit here and assume everybody uses a VPN, right? But the people that are going to be like, oh my gosh, like they're going to see it pop up everywhere, not just with CISA. Like, and CISA, I know they do a good job of what they do, right? But sometimes people could just be like, all right, CISA's out there saying something, I'm not going to pay attention to that, right? That's not our case, right?
Yeah,
but,
or who is CISA, right? Like, common person might not even know what that organization does. But they do know Fox, they do know CNN, and so on and so forth. So it's very true. So yeah, I guess it would be the best protocol, I guess, so to speak. But please like, share, subscribe. Hit a bell if there's a bell involved. Check out our newsletter. It goes out every week. We have almost 1,200 subs, so we're getting up there. With all that being said, so the thing about a threat is like what's the word I'm trying to say? How feasible is it for somebody to implement this, right? So at the current state that it's in, you have to be pretty good at what you do, as well as you have to have access. So is it as big of a threat as we perceive it to be? Perhaps not, right? Because all these things have to be added to one another in an equation to see how big of a vulnerability this is going to be, right? However, I think it's you show someone how to do something that's a little bit cumbersome, and then they make it more streamlined. They refine it, and then it then becomes very easy. It's like, okay, we don't need all of these things. You just have to sit and research, mind map, and you can make it smaller, lighter, and more efficient for the good guys or the bad guys to implement. So I think it being out there, like what I'm trying to say is it being out there for 22 years, I don't believe that egregious, because someone had to think of it, make it happen, and it's pretty cumbersome as it currently is. But now, the next couple of years, they're going to get better at refining and weaponizing this new thing. So I think now it's a credible threat. I don't believe back in 2002, I don't believe it was that credible. So I'm not as worried that it's being exploited, and it would have been discovered by now when NSA lost their. I think Russia lost their tools. There was a breach where a lot of the Russian cyber tools were proliferated and what have you. So someone would have already blasted this out to the public within the past 2 days. I think that this was a vulnerability back in 2002, or since 2002, but I don't believe it was widely exploited. So I feel a little bit safer about it. But in the year 2025, it'll be the norm. You know what I mean? Like they'll refine it pretty quickly. Just give it a ChatGPT. It'll figure it out 87% of the time. To call back to last week, so check that out, where we found out that ChatGPT can take CVEs and weaponize them if you prompt it properly. So yes, at the speed of current thought and internet and the pipelines that we currently have, now this is a pretty big threat. But I don't believe it was that bad. So that makes me feel a little bit better, because we're going to find more of these exploits, right? The internet was put together with bubblegum and tape. So as we get to internet, what is it? We're going to 3.0 is what we're trying to get to. That more like we've baked in internet security and things of that nature, we're going to start to see even more of the seams and threads be pulled on the old internet that we, like quote unquote old internet, and how it was put together, because it was pretty much just bolted together to make it happen. No one was really thinking of security to the extent that we're thinking of it today, or at least no one no one with a voice powerful enough to make it happen before now. So again, I'm not too concerned, but I am concerned about the future. So they definitely have to figure this out, because I use it when I travel. I don't really use it as much as I should, right? When it comes to VPNs, like the whole house should be secured. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's not, because When I come home, I don't want to think about it too much, right? I want the easy button. I want your Express VPNs, your Nords, things of that nature. I just want to click a button on a device and now it's secure. When really it should be from the gateway out. But I trust my ISP is taking care of me, right? But they're not. But yeah, so I think this was a great discussion. Please continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays, ask a CISSP. So we're going to have a scheduling gap for the next couple of weeks. Like I have people in the pipe, but the way it works is it takes me time to refine these things. So if I get behind on any one of them, it's kind of a domino effect before I can catch up. So don't expect a new one this upcoming week or potentially the next 2 weeks. However, I am sitting down with people. They'll be in the newsletter who I'm going to be speaking to next. The next one up will be Delisha Hodo from SANS Institute. So it'll be her second time on the show. She is amazing at what she does. Her cybersecurity origin story is pretty cool because it's more adjacent to cybersecurity. And then just all the initiatives that SANS has for people of color and minorities and women is also pretty epic in itself. So definitely tune in for that one, but it might not run for another week or two. And then go back to listen to the previous one with Elizabeth Stevens. So she is a living legend, right? Marine, retired, and now she's trailblazing with her own company, DBS Cyber. So check all that good stuff out. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. So continue to tune into all the websites that go by her name, The Other Side of the Firewall, The Other Side of the MW, or Ask a CISSP. Hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy, pretty much on all the platforms. And where can they find you, Chris?
You can find me LinkedIn under Chris Avedon.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.